So I haven't done a video in a while, and that is because I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed and a bit anxious, and that included even being anxious about doing these videos, which surprised me because I felt like I was starting to do a bit better with the whole situation. Things had calmed down, I was starting to feel better. I mentioned in a previous video that I had COVID symptoms and my dad was very unwell. He is also doing better. So things were starting to settle. I felt like I was starting to get used to a bit of the routine, getting up in the mornings, going for my walk, starting my day. So I was like, felt like I was starting to feel positive. Felt like having a routine really helped. I know for some people it's not so much of a thing, but for me, having a plan each day and having a routine every day really helped, and I felt like I was feeling a bit more settled. And then this week, something just happened. I just started to feel really overwhelmed, very, very emotional, getting upset about lots of things, not sleeping again, having the bad dreams again, feeling very tired all the time. And I wasn't really sure what was going on. And I think a little bit of it is because I have been thinking a lot about the future. I think last week, we were all probably aware that the lockdown was going to probably continue, and obviously that got announced on Thursday, and it was a bit sort of like, okay, right, here we go, it's going on a bit longer, but fine, it's 3 more weeks, can manage it. I've done 3, it wasn't so bad, I can do another 3. I've been pretty good at keeping off social media and the news and stuff, but I started to sort of, because I think I was feeling like I'd handled the last 3 weeks, got through it, maybe I'd be fine. I'd look at some of it. And what I noticed, that there was a lot in the social media and the news about how this was going to go on for a long time, that this was not going to end in 3 weeks, that this is going to go on for the rest of the year, this could go on till Christmas, there could be more lockdowns, events in October, September being cancelled, and it felt just overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming, that I just didn't know when this was going to end. The enormity of it felt terrifying. And although I knew deep down, like, some of these things, it wasn't like they were, I guess, a shock in some ways. I'm aware, I have a scientific background, I'm aware of how viruses work, none of this was a shock, but when you are just trying to get through every day, to suddenly be told about such a larger, longer time period, it can feel really overwhelming, especially as it felt kind of like a bit out of the blue in a way. We've been talking a lot about the next 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden it was the next year. This was probably compounded by the fact that my employer had sort of an information meeting to sort of talk about plans going forward, which is great and useful, and it's always nice to feel connected to the rest of the like the people you work with, etc. But what I again wasn't expecting is, I was expecting talking about the next 3 weeks, even the next maybe 2 months, but suddenly there was talks about things that are being cancelled in September, big events being cancelled. I talk about phased return, about social distancing being continued, that we might not be coming back to the office, and it felt overwhelming. Is the best word. I know I keep using that word, but it's the best word I can use. I just wasn't expecting it, I think, and I completely understand that the senior management teams need to think about these things. They have to be planning for them, but I think for a lot of us that are just trying to get through every day, that aren't having these discussions, that aren't talking about making these big decisions, that are literally just trying to survive every day, that are trying to deal with, the enormity of your kids continuously being off. When are they going to go back to school? Are they falling behind? The pressure of not feeling like you're doing any work, the worry of furlough coming, how long is that going to be for? And then even if you are doing work, how just exhausting and draining it is to be at home all the time and struggling with it. And it's not enjoyable. I absolutely love my job. I like the first time in probably my whole career that I've had such a love for the whole part of my job, and I don't at the moment. I find it stressful and exhausting, and probably because a large part of it's had to change, obviously, because I'm now having to do so much online, which is very difficult to do for my job. And then I felt like I was blindsided a bit with all this talk about the future. And I've spoken to a lot of other people, and I feel like a lot of people are feeling really overwhelmed this week and very emotional. And so I just wanted to talk about how I've been feeling. Last night I just couldn't stop crying. I also went to visit my parents. I dropped some groceries off for them, and I got to sit in the garden and obviously a safe distance and see my dad. So it's the first time I've seen him properly, obviously, since he came out of hospital. And it took all my strength not to run over and give him a hug. And it was just awful. Awful not being able to hug the people I love and care about. It upsets me every day that I don't know when I'm going to see my friends. I'm currently separated in distance from my boyfriend. He is unfortunately having to be down with his parents at the moment, so we haven't seen each other in a month, which I'm finding very difficult. So anyone else that's in that situation, I really understand how that has a massive impact on your everyday life. Worrying about them, missing them, not being able to have hugs and just time with them, and then not knowing when any of this is going to end. I think just makes me feel really anxious. So I've gone back again to just not looking on social media and the news as much as I can, and trying to just think about the next few weeks, because that's something I can handle. That's something I feel like I can do that. I can handle the next 3 weeks. And yes, it might be a long time, but I don't want to think about it. And I know lots of people do. I know for some people it's easier to think about the big picture. It's easier to be prepared, and I totally get that if that's you. But for a lot of us, I think the big picture is just too much right now. And if you feel the same, if you've been feeling like a bit emotional, a bit overwhelmed this week, then just don't think about it. Just think about getting through this week. Think about getting through the next 3 weeks, whatever it is that is or just get about through today. Sometimes that's the hardest thing. And just know that you're not alone. You're not the only person that is bursting into tears because I don't know, I had everything. I dropped something on the floor, I cried. I went to the shops, I cried. I had some home cooking that I had in the freezer, I cried. So home cooking, sorry, there was something my mum had made a long time ago, but I cried. I literally couldn't stop crying yesterday. So if you're the same, like, I get it, and you're not alone, and we will get there in the end. But just try and take each day, minute, hour as it comes.